First Contact's Price. The quantum sensors aboard the Meridian Alliance flagship, Eternal Dawn, detected the primitive radio signals long before they reached the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. High Administrator Vila Shitao, her crystalline form shimmering under the bridge's ambient light, regarded the incoming transmission with what her species considered amusement. Another developing world, she announced to her crew, her thoughts resonating through the ship's neural network. Class 3 Civilization, barely achieved spaceflight. Designation, Earth. The Alliance had encountered thousands of such worlds in their 50,000 years of existence. Most species at this stage were predictable, fighting their petty wars, struggling with their environmental challenges, and broadcasting their hopes into the cosmos. The Alliance's protocol was simple: observe, catalog, and move on. Primitive species needed time to mature before they could be considered for contact. But Earth was different, though nobody knew it yet. The first sign came when Dr. Lien Chen, the head of Earth's Quantum Research Initiative, detected the Alliance's observation probes. According to all known Alliance protocols, this should have been impossible. The cloaking technology was beyond anything humanity should have been able to perceive. Yet there it was, a detailed scan of 3 probe signatures, recorded by what the Alliance would have considered laughably obsolete equipment. "This can't be right," Lien muttered, adjusting her thick-rimmed glasses as she reviewed the data for the 4th time. The makeshift quantum detector she'd built in her garage, a hobby project combining quantum entanglement principles with good old-fashioned radio technology, was picking up patterns that defied conventional physics. The Alliance's Security Council convened an emergency session when they realized their probes had been detected. This had never happened before, not with a Class 3 civilization. High Administrator Shitao found herself defending her decision to maintain observation. "These humans have achieved something unprecedented," she argued, her crystalline form pulsing with emphasis. "Their approach to quantum detection is unorthodox, but effective. It suggests a capacity for innovative thinking we rarely see in developing species." But before the Council could reach a decision, something far more pressing demanded their attention. The first cases of the quantum plague appeared on Centauri Prime, the Alliance's most advanced research world. Victims began experiencing impossible symptoms, their very atomic structure becoming unstable, matter phasing in and out of existence. Alliance medical technology, capable of rebuilding entire bodies from scratch, proved useless. The plague defied their understanding of physics itself. Within weeks, it had spread to 12 worlds, and the Alliance's mighty civilization began to show its first cracks. Dar. Chen's quantum detector picked up the changes in local spacetime before anyone else. The Alliance ships, normally so careful about maintaining their distance, were moving closer to Earth. Their perfect formation was breaking down, showing signs of desperation. "They're running from something," Lien explained to the hastily assembled UN Security Council. "And whatever it is, it's following them straight to us." The Alliance's first official contact with Earth didn't come through their diplomatic corps or their cultural integration teams. It came through a desperate transmission, broadcast on frequencies that Lien's detector had revealed humans could access. "People of Earth," High Administrator Shitao's message began, her translator struggling to convert her thought patterns into human language. "We are the Meridian Alliance, and we come to you not as advanced beings to primitive ones, but as equals in desperate need. A plague unlike anything in our history threatens all sentient life in this galaxy. Our technology, advanced as it is, has failed to stop it. We have observed your species' unique approach to science and technology, your ability to find solutions where none should exist. We need your help." The UN Security Council chamber erupted in chaos. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't a celebration of achievement or a warning about their warlike ways. Instead, it was a plea for help from beings so advanced they made human technology look like stone tools, beings who were now admitting their own powerlessness. Lien sat quietly in the back of the chamber, her mind already racing with possibilities. The Alliance's quantum technology was failing because it was too perfect, too reliant on established principles. But human technology, crude, improvised, and built on countless generations of trial and error, might just be primitive enough to work. "We will help," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos of the chamber. "But first, you need to tell us everything about this plague. And I mean everything, especially the parts you think are too advanced for us to understand." High Administrator Shital's response came instantly, her relief palpable even through the crude translation. "Thank you. Perhaps this is why your species developed so differently from others. You were meant to be here, at this moment, when the galaxy needed a new perspective most. The quantum plague was approaching Earth, and humanity's first real test as a spacefaring species would not be about proving their advancement, it would be about proving that sometimes the oldest solutions work best. The human solution. The Alliance medical bay aboard the Eternal Dawn was a marvel of technology that had just become useless. Holographic displays showed the atomic structure of a plague victim literally falling apart, their matter flickering between states of existence. Dr. Lien Chen watched the display while taking notes with an old-fashioned paper notebook and pencil, much to the bewilderment of the Alliance medical staff. "Your recording methods are primitive," remarked Chief Medical Officer ZYX, their bioluminescent form pulsing with concern. "We have neural interfaces that can." "That's exactly the problem," Lien interrupted, pushing her glasses up her nose. "Your technology is too integrated with quantum systems. We need to go analog. Show me your first case again, but this time, let's look at it through a regular microscope." The Alliance doctors exchanged confused glances. They hadn't used physical microscopes in thousands of years. It took them 3 hours to fabricate one to human specifications, and when they did, Lien made a discovery that their quantum imaging had missed. "Look," she pointed to the cellular structure of the infected tissue. "The plague isn't just affecting quantum states, it's creating patterns. Patterns that your quantum sensors are too precise to see because they're looking at individual atoms instead of the bigger picture." High Administrator Shital observed from the doorway, her crystalline form dimmed with exhaustion. The plague had now spread to 20 systems, and the Alliance's mighty civilization was beginning to crumble. "What kind of patterns, Dr. Chen?" "Fractals," Lien replied, sketching rapidly in her notebook. "The plague isn't random. It's following mathematical principles that seem chaotic at the quantum level but make perfect sense at a macro scale. It's like looking at a forest by analyzing each atom in each leaf, when what you really need is to step back and look at the whole tree." The human approach to the crisis proved revolutionary in other ways too. While the Alliance had quarantined entire star systems, cutting them off with quantum barriers, Earth scientists suggested a different approach. Dr. James Morrison, an epidemiologist from Atlanta, recognized something familiar in the plague's behavior. "It's acting like a virus," he explained to the Alliance Council, standing confidently despite being the only human in a room full of advanced alien beings. "Not a computer virus, not a quantum anomaly, a biological virus. It evolves, it adapts, and most importantly, it follows rules that we've been studying for centuries." The Alliance Council chambers erupted in discussion. The idea that something affecting quantum states could behave like a primitive biological pathogen seemed absurd. But humanity's history with viruses had taught them something the Alliance had forgotten: the importance of understanding evolution and adaptation. Working together, Lien and James began mapping the plague spread using techniques developed for tracking Earth's pandemics. They created models that combined quantum mechanics with classical epidemiology, something that had never been done before because no one had ever needed to. "The plague isn't just destroying matter," Lien announced one day, her eyes bright with realization. "It's learning. Every time your quantum barriers stop it, it adapts and becomes stronger. But if we introduce uncertainty into the equation..." She proposed what seemed like madness to the Alliance, deliberately creating imperfect quarantine barriers. Barriers that would allow the plague to pass through in predictable ways, rather than forcing it to evolve unpredictably. It was the equivalent of creating firebreaks to control a wildfire, rather than trying to build an impenetrable wall. High Administrator Shital took a tremendous risk by approving the human solution. Our civilization was built on the pursuit of perfection, she told the council. Perhaps that is why we cannot see what these humans see. They understand imperfection because they have lived with it, learned from it, and turned it into a strength. The first tests of the new strategy showed promise. By creating controlled channels for the plague spread, they could predict its evolution and work to counter it. It wasn't a cure, but it was the first real progress anyone had made. But not everyone in the Alliance appreciated the human approach. A faction led by Grand Theorist Vex of the Science Directory argued that relying on primitive methods was a sign of desperation that would lead to their doom. The tension between traditional Alliance methods and human intuition was building, even as the plague continued its relentless advance. As Lien worked through another sleepless night, she made another connection. The plague's fractal patterns, she muttered, spreading her papers across the lab bench. They're not just mathematical. They're like code. Someone wrote this thing. The revelation hit her like a thunderbolt. The quantum plague wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was engineered. And understanding who created it might be the key to stopping it. But that discovery would have to wait, because at that moment, the impossible happened. A ship appeared in Earth's orbit, not an Alliance vessel, but something else entirely. Its design was organic, almost viral in nature, and its arrival sent Lien's quantum detector into a frenzy. The plague had evolved beyond their predictions. It wasn't just affecting matter anymore. It had become something else entirely. And Earth was its next target. Guardians of the Stars. Earth's response to the viral ship was something the Alliance had never seen before. While their advanced civilizations had grown dependent on quantum shielding and energy barriers, humanity fell back on what they knew best, adaptation and improvisation. Colonel Sarah Martinez of the newly formed Earth Defense Initiative stood on the bridge of the HMS Resilient, Earth's first hybrid warship. Built in just 2 months, it combined salvaged Alliance quantum technology with conventional human engineering. The result was ugly but effective, like a pearl embedded in rusted steel. Status report on the viral vessel, Sarah commanded, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. The ship hanging in Earth's orbit pulsed with an sickly green light, its hull constantly shifting and reforming. "It's evolving, Colonel," reported Dr. Chen from her makeshift quantum lab aboard the Resilient. "The fractal patterns we observed in the plague victims, they're manifesting physically in the ship's structure. It's like watching a virus build itself a body." High Administrator Shital observed from her position on the bridge, her crystalline form dimmed with concern. The Alliance's remaining ships hung back, their perfect quantum shields proving useless against this new threat. The viral ship simply phased through them, leaving devastation in its wake. "Our weapons can't lock onto it," Sarah noted, studying the readouts. Traditional targeting systems see it as dozens of different objects at once. A smile crossed her face. "So let's stop trying to be precise." What followed was what the Alliance would later call the human gambit. Instead of attempting to destroy the viral ship with precise quantum weapons, the Resilient launched a barrage of conventional explosives, old-fashioned missiles loaded with a mixture of Alliance quantum material and Earth metals. "We don't need to hit it perfectly," Sarah explained as the missiles launched. "We just need to disrupt its ability to maintain cohesion. Sometimes a sledgehammer works better than a scalpel." The viral ship attempted to phase through the attack as it had done with Alliance weapons. But the imperfect nature of human technology created something unprecedented. The explosions didn't try to destroy the ship, they created chaos in its quantum structure, forcing it to maintain a single form long enough to be vulnerable. "It's working!" Lien shouted, her quantum detector showing the ship's fractal patterns breaking down. "The impurities in our weapons are forcing it to exist in a single quantum state." But their victory was short-lived. As the viral ship began to break apart, it broadcast a signal, not in any Alliance language, but in simple binary code that Earth's computers could easily decode. "We are the evolution," the message read. "You cannot stop entropy. You cannot stop change. We are the next step." The message confirmed Lien's theory: the quantum plague wasn't just a weapon, it was an attempt to force controlled evolution on a universal scale. Someone or something had decided that current life forms were too static, too unchanging, and had created a virus to force adaptation. The revelation sparked something in Lien's mind. "That's why your quantum technology couldn't fight it," she told Shitao. "Your civilization seeks perfection, stability. This virus seeks the opposite, constant change. But humans, we exist in between. We change, but we also maintain our core identity." The battle above Earth became a testing ground for this theory. While Alliance ships maintained their distance, human vessels engaged in what could only be described as organized chaos. They didn't try to destroy the viral ships directly, instead, they created zones of quantum instability that forced the virus to adapt until it burned itself out. But as they fought, more viral ships appeared. Earth's defensive strategy, while effective, couldn't be maintained forever. They needed to find the source, to understand who or what had created the quantum plague and why. The answer came from an unexpected source. During a lull in the battle, one of Lien's junior researchers, Maya Patel, noticed something in the plague's base code. Hidden beneath the fractal patterns was a signature, not of a species, but of a place. "The quantum plague," Maya announced, her voice trembling with excitement, "it's coming from the galactic core. From what the Alliance calls the Dead Zone." The Dead Zone, a region of space the Alliance had long avoided, believing it to be uninhabitable due to intense quantum fluctuations. But what if those fluctuations weren't natural? What if someone had been hiding there, planning, evolving, waiting for the right moment to remake the galaxy in their image? The war for survival had just become a race against time. Humanity had proven they could fight the plague, but stopping it at its source would require a journey into the one place the Alliance feared to go. And this time, Earth would have to lead the way. Colonel Martinez looked at her crew, human and alien working side by side, fear and determination mingling on their faces. "Plot a course for the galactic core," she ordered. "It's time to end this." Breaking point. The journey to the galactic core pushed both human ingenuity and Alliance technology to their limits. The HMS Resilient led a joint fleet, a mix of retrofitted Earth vessels and the remaining Alliance ships, into the quantum storms of the Dead Zone. The space around them writhed with energy, reality itself seeming to bend and twist. "Hull integrity at 60%, reported Lieutenant Commander Jack Rodriguez, his hands dancing across the hybrid control console. "The quantum fluctuations are getting stronger." Colonel Martinez watched as another Alliance ship vanished into a quantum eddy, only to reappear moments later, its perfect crystalline structure now warped and changed. The Dead Zone was living up to its reputation, but not in the way anyone had expected. It wasn't killing ships, it was changing them. Dr. Chen worked frantically in her lab, correlating data from her quantum detector with Maya's analysis of the plague's code. "The Dead Zone isn't natural," she announced over the ship's comm. "These quantum storms, they're like an immune system. They're trying to adapt us, just like the plague." High Administrator Shitao's crystalline form had begun to show signs of change too, edges that were once sharp becoming fluid and organic. "My people believed perfection was the ultimate goal," she said, studying her shifting reflection. "We never considered that static perfection might be a form of death." The deeper they pushed into the Dead Zone, the more the barriers between organic and mechanical, digital and physical, began to break down. The ships themselves started to exhibit signs of mutation, incorporating aspects of the quantum storms into their structure. But while the Alliance vessels struggled with these changes, the human ships adapted. "It's because of how we built them," Maya explained, her eyes bright with understanding. "Our ships were never perfect to begin with. They're used to compensating for flaws, working around problems. They're doing what life on Earth has always done, evolving. The breakthrough came when they reached what appeared to be the heart of the dead zone. A massive structure hung in space, not a ship or a station, but something that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. It was technology evolved to its logical extreme, where the boundaries between artificial and organic had completely broken down. "We're being hailed," Jack announced, his console shifting and reforming under his fingers. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies, using every form of communication simultaneously." The message that came through was both simple and devastating: "Welcome, children. You have finally arrived." The entity that called itself the Architect appeared on their screens, a being that existed as both energy and matter, digital and organic. It spoke through quantum fluctuations, radio waves, and direct neural links simultaneously. "We seeded the galaxy with life billions of years ago," it explained, its form constantly shifting between different states of existence. But life took an unexpected turn. It sought stability. Permanence. The Alliance's quest for perfection was the ultimate expression of this flaw. "We created the plague to force evolution, to return the galaxy to its intended path of constant change and adaptation." Colonel Martinez stood from her command chair, her voice steady despite the quantum energies now coursing through the ship. "And who gave you the right to make that decision for everyone else?" The Architect's response was immediate: "The right of the Creator. The right of the parent who sees their children stagnating." But Lien had been working on something, a theory that had formed during their journey through the dead zone. "You're wrong," she said, stepping forward. "True evolution isn't about constant change or perfect stability. It's about finding balance between the two." She transmitted the data she'd gathered, showing how the human ships had survived the dead zone not by resisting change or embracing it completely, but by maintaining their core functions while adapting their forms. The Alliance vessels that had survived had started to do the same, learning from their human counterparts. "Your plague was designed to force evolution," Lien continued, "but real evolution can't be forced. It has to be chosen. Every species, every civilization, has to find its own path between change and stability." The Architect's form fluctuated violently as it processed this information. The quantum storms around them intensified, and for a moment, it seemed like the entire dead zone would collapse into chaos. But then something unexpected happened. The Architect began to change, not through external force, but through understanding. The quantum storm started to calm, and the plague ships throughout the galaxy began to lose cohesion. "Perhaps," the Architect admitted, its form settling into a more stable configuration, "we too have something to learn about evolution." The revelation marked a turning point in the battle, but it wasn't the end. The galaxy had been fundamentally changed by the quantum plague, and now all species faced a choice: how to move forward in a universe where the boundaries between organic and artificial, stability and change, had been forever blurred. Legacy of Earth. A year after the encounter in the dead zone, Earth had become the unlikely center of a galactic renaissance. The old Alliance capital, with its perfect crystalline spires, had been replaced by a new kind of city, one where organic architecture flowed seamlessly into quantum technology, where change and stability existed in careful balance. Dr. Lien Chen stood at the window of the newly established Galactic Evolution Institute, watching ships of various designs dock at the orbital station above. Some were sleek Alliance vessels, others were rugged human constructions, and many were hybrids that combined elements of both. Each represented a different approach to the challenge the Architect had left them with. "The latest results from the adaptation studies are in," Maya announced, entering the lab with a holographic display that flickered between digital and physical forms. "The species that are embracing controlled evolution are thriving. Those that resist any change are struggling, but they're learning." High Administrator Shi Tao, her crystalline form now bearing elegant organic patterns, joined them at the window. "My people spent millennia seeking perfection," she mused, only to discover that perfection was never the goal. The humans knew this all along. Colonel Martinez, now Admiral Martinez of the Joint Species Fleet, arrived for their regular briefing. The fleet itself had become a testament to the new philosophy: ships that could adapt to threats while maintaining their core purpose, crews that combined the best aspects of all species. "We've established contact with 16 new civilizations this month alone," Sarah reported. "They're all facing the same challenges we did, finding their own balance between evolution and identity. Earth has become their guide." The architect's legacy was complex. While the quantum plague had been stopped, its effects had permanently altered the fabric of reality throughout the galaxy. Quantum fluctuations were now a part of everyday life, requiring constant adaptation. But instead of fighting this new reality, species were learning to work with it. The architect wanted to force evolution, Lien explained to a group of new students from across the galaxy. "Instead, it taught us that true evolution comes from choice. Each species, each individual, must decide how much to change and how much to preserve." Earth's unique position, caught between the drive for advancement and the preservation of identity, had proven to be its greatest strength. Humans became teachers, showing other species how to navigate the balance between chaos and order. The Alliance transformed as well. Its rigid hierarchy gave way to a more flexible structure, one that celebrated diversity rather than conformity. Species that had once been considered too primitive for membership were now valued for their unique perspectives. Jack Rodriguez, working with a team of Alliance engineers, had developed a new type of ship drive that embodied these principles. "It doesn't fight the quantum fluctuations," he explained, "but it doesn't surrender to them either. It dances with them, like learning a partner's moves." The architect itself had become a subject of study rather than fear. Its vast structure in the dead zone had transformed into a research station where scientists from all species came to study the boundaries between organic and artificial life. The being seemed content to observe now, watching as its children found their own paths to evolution. "We were wrong about humans," Shital admitted during a council session. "We saw their adaptability as primitive, their imperfection as weakness. We didn't understand that these were the very traits the galaxy needed most." But humanity's greatest contribution wasn't technological or scientific, it was philosophical. They showed the galaxy that evolution wasn't just about becoming stronger or more advanced. It was about becoming wiser, about knowing when to change and when to hold firm to one's core principles. As Lien prepared to teach another class of diverse species, she reflected on how far they'd come. The quantum plague had threatened to destroy civilization, but instead, it had forced everyone to confront a fundamental truth: life thrives not through perfect stability or constant change, but through the wisdom to know when to embrace each. "The galaxy isn't divided into primitive and advanced species anymore," she told her students. "We're all evolving together, each in our own way, each contributing to the greater whole." And perhaps that was the real lesson all along. Above Earth, ships of all designs continued their dance through space, each one a testament to the new understanding that had emerged from crisis. They were no longer just vessels of exploration or commerce, they were symbols of a fundamental truth that humanity had helped the galaxy rediscover: the strength to evolve comes not from power or perfection, but from the courage to remain true to oneself while embracing change. The story of the traitorous humans had become legend, but not for the reasons anyone had expected. They hadn't saved the galaxy through superior technology or military might, but by showing that the path forward lay in balance, adaptation, and the wisdom to know the difference between what must change and what must endure.